not what I want to do in my business. I want to write products and help people make money. Amazon just generally doesn't want you to win. It's very easy to run an ad on Amazon, but it's very hard to run an ad profitably. And that's exactly where Stone's Good steps in. All right, welcome back, everybody. Today we have another repeat guest and friend of the show, Brent. Brent, how's it going?
Hey, Sean, it's going well. I'm happy to see you and happy to be here.
Yeah, same here. We were talking offline, and I'm really excited about this topic. I think that there's so many interesting things that could happen. But the company that you're part of, Sellerplex, you were saying that some of the stuff you've been working on lately is AI agents. And I know that's a hot topic for everybody, but that's definitely a topic that I'm personally quite interested in. So I would love to talk about that today. Kind of just get the ball rolling. Can you maybe just give us a bit of background about what that means to you and how that works with Sellerplex?
Sure. I credit, Nate, the founder of Sellerplex, a lot of the vision for this, right? Because he's someone that thinks pretty carefully about the strategic direction of the company. And my role so far in this has been the PPC longtime expert with a lot of client communication and connection experience, kind of bringing those two things to the agent. So Nate doesn't do so much of that, right? He's thinking about the top level strategy. And I would say his big vision and contribution to this is essentially, if we're going to be eventually disrupted by AI agents moving into all areas of life, let's just assume that. I think that's probably safe for a 3-5 year vision. Why don't we be the ones to try to move in and do that ourselves instead? So why don't we get the development resources in-house, build something of our own, deploy it for our own clients, and so they benefit a lot from it first. And then potentially one day, although I know from many friends that you and I have mutually, building software for yourself versus building software for the external world are two different things. But these agents don't have to be a full-fledged software. And I think the nature of even building software has changed. So essentially what we have is 3, technically 4 really, really smart chatbot buddies that accompany us in Slack and help us do a lot of different things. This is the alpha version that we're working on and working with internally right now. And my role is really just giving a lot of feedback and nuance and feature requests and pointing out things to the team that's actually doing the development, getting on calls with them. I had a call with one of the guys on the team yesterday for an hour and talked to him all about the features they're doing for the next version. And he gave me some of the, back end look at here's how the database works. Here's how the structure flows. I am not a programmer. I'm certainly not a database expert, but I'm picking up some things here and there, and it's kind of fun.
Yeah. Dude, that's amazing. What are you guys thinking about solving to start? As someone who's been selling on Amazon since 2017, I think it's fair to say that there are a lot of repetitive tasks on Amazon that, could be automated if you really, really, really understand software. But I would love to know, where you guys are focusing, what you're trying to do, I assume automation, but maybe it's not, maybe it's something else. So what are you guys working on?
Yeah, it's a good question. And I think it's funny because you immediately assume automation. And actually, when I first heard this being talked about, some months ago, I also thought the same thing. I was like, oh, it's going to be automation. So far, what it's actually been is more of an assistant. So let me explain some of the framework or basis. They came up with some clever names for this too. So the one that is kind of the centralized place where the data store exists is called Ecom Brain. And here's the API for ads. Here's the API for what do they call it? Seller Partner API. It's piping in different streams of data that we need to connect. Not everything, but a decent amount of things. Okay, we can load in and have a conversation with and give it COGS information, or we can, have all these different information come in about all the sponsored ads, campaign types. We don't have DSP in there yet. That's something that we're discussing and I've requested, of course, but it's got a lot of context. And then of course you, like any LLM, you tell it, who it is and how it's supposed to think, how you want it to react. You can have contextually threaded conversations. And by the way, this is taking place mostly in Slack. So it's where we're already sitting and working all day long and conversing with each other. We can then invoke the bot and it comes in and helps and talks to us. So I'm getting a bit off track. Ecom Brain is the central thing. Then we have the one that's, nearest and dearest to your heart and my heart, which we call Optimo. And this is the one for ads. So there's a couple things that Optimo does to take off our plate right now, which is pretty cool. One is it will do weekly checks. So it'll check in every week. Here are the stats. Here's trailing 7 days. Here's the changes and deltas for all those. It just lays it out for you. So you don't know more of that manual stuff right there. And, after working the bugs out of that for a few months, it's pretty good. Now, what it really does, which is cool, is it gives you suggestions for changes and highlights problem areas and success areas. So it'll be like, these are things that are going well.
Mm,
These are things that are going poorly. And then it will auto suggest like 4 or 5 questions, and you could just hit the ask button. But what I've actually learned works best is starting a conversation with it and asking it very pointed questions that you have about the account. And then it'll come back with
mm,
sometimes a really good answer, sometimes not. We're still in alpha, but that's been what it's like. It's kind of like having, like, imagine you had like a really, really, really smart friend and you're like, hey, look at all
mhm,
this ad data. And then in like 20 minutes, you're like, hey, what do you think about the account? Should I do this? And they have like an informed opinion based on, 6 months of recent ad data and trained on the other data we have. Cause in aggregate, we taking the millions of dollars we had from, Pathfinder and then that from the Sellerplex clients, we were able to put together like a pretty decent corpus of information and then use that to like train it and look at it essentially. So that's what it's doing. And our mode or modal method of like interaction is through Slack. So we're just chatting with it. Right now,
mm.
I don't have it on the phone yet, but maybe one day.
That's really interesting. If I want to take this conversation too many different ways. Uh, um, so a lot of it is more of like an assistant. It's analyzing things for you. It's catching things for you. It's calling things out that
Yes.
maybe if you were doing it, like if you had perfect amounts of time, you'd go check. But if you don't have time,
Ooh, that's a
you're,
good way to frame it. If I had infinite amounts of time, patience, energy,
mhm.
vigilance, and caffeine, right? Yeah, like a good
Yeah,
example is one
right.
of the accounts. It pointed out something to me the other day, and it said like, "Hey, did you know you spent like 27 euros in this account last week, and like this keyword has had no results to show for it?" And I was like, "Well, that's interesting. Let's go further
Yeah.
investigate that." And it's just surfacing it for you automatically. Now, you and I both have used many different tools, and there are tools that will do that same thing. If you run a filter, you can go find it. But this is
Hmm.
more of like that conversational interface, which I think most of us we think of like the early days of like GPT and how we were all blown away by that and how like smart it was. This is kind
Hmm.
of like that same like usage methodology brought in. And the idea is that anyone on the team, whether they're managing that account or not, can go in there and extract insights from it. They don't have to be like the expert on every single product. You could be like, hey, what are the top sellers? It'll tell you. What are the ones that have the highest day costs that we might need to watch? How about products
Hmm.
that have little impressions? Can you surface those? And through this discussion, you can have it bring these things up and show them to you. So it's like a really smart friend, I think is the best way to still uh, demonstrate what I think of it so far in my interactions.
Yeah, no, I really like that. I think that's quite clever because you don't run the risk of a big oopsie that you the way you would if you had say a lot of or you had agents actually taking actions on your behalf.
Hmm.
And so
Hmm.
that's really interesting because you're removing a level of risk that probably would be there otherwise. So
Yeah,
that's
and I
very
think we've
interesting.
experienced this with ad softwares, haven't we? Like we've all, I like to say that ad softwares have always existed on a spectrum where one of them is like the
Hmm.
stick shift manual. It's like, do not ever change a bid for me, only if I say do it. Don't ever add a keyword, only if I say do it. I'm going to set the rules. I'm going to be super detailed about this per account. And then you have like others. I'm not going to name any names, but it's basically here's a big box, put in your ACOS target. See you next week. And there's a spectrum between those two. But I
Hmm.
think that the original goal with Optimo for the ad side was not so much let's automate stuff as we still want to be the human on the wheel between the two. But what if we had a
Mm.
really, really good advisor that is 24/7 always sitting on our shoulder, and able to whisper in our ear if we ask it questions. Yeah, that's pretty much the use case for it so far.
Yeah, that's really cool. And like that is actually a lot more achievable than maybe what a lot of people think because like you can use no code to connect to the Amazon APIs. Now you won't be able to change things through the Amazon
Hmm.
APIs, but you'll be able to basically connect.
Hmm.
Have you guys given any thought to like when it comes to trying to think of how to ask this? So I'm thinking about this, and you guys have like a bids one, you have like a product level data one where you can kind of like check profit and loss and stuff like that.
Yeah, so Optimo's the ads one, and then I'm not sure if we need to get into the other two, but the other two are called Sybil and Valkyrie. Valkyrie is like an account protection one, and Sybil is the one that is more inventory supply chain management, which is an area that I know
Hmm.
little about. but it digs into all that data. It doesn't really touch the ad data so much, although they draw from a central
Mm,
place. So I think part of the long-term vision is we can actually have those things like interact. For example, classic scenario you and I love and know well. Okay, we're going out of stock for this product. Shouldn't that inform the advertising over here? Shouldn't that say something like, hey, by the way, inventory levels are critical. We have data on what the sell through is last 30, 60 days because we pull that in. And Sellerplex has a really big inventory supply chain team that's quite experienced. So they've put some of their information into that, but I haven't used that bot nearly as much as I have the advertising one. I think the vision is for them to talk to each other. And actually, to go back to the other thing you said, the no code, low code. So the team
mhm,
that we put together is 3.5, 4 people. I think the last person's coming full time soon.
mhm.
Who's doing this full time, like coding. They're all
Yeah.
programmers. All of them are, I think, very, very proficient with MCPs and now linking together stuff with N8N, which gets a lot of love in some communities that you and I run in, like Core. And I think we see it a lot online from people that I consider, the most advanced people that are building some stuff in public on AI things.
Mhm.
And I've seen the back end, I've seen how it works. I couldn't possibly hope to set that up. But I know there's a lot of people out there that are more technical than me that are still not programmers, but that's still very
Mhm.
achievable. It's like, okay, if we can get a really good database architecture and structure, which maybe is the hardest thing, then we can address
Yeah.
that with these tools. And then actually linking it, using N8N as that bridge between them is a little bit more trivial compared to those other, data challenges, I think. So
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the main thing that when I look at a lot of these different no code tools is you kind of need there's like multiple layers of technical understanding. You need to understand how APIs work, you need to understand how databases work. Then you also need to understand how things like N8N or other automation tools work. And so it's almost this like you're like chaining a bunch of stuff together unless you want to write everything from scratch. And I think guys like you and I are like writing code from scratch, even with a tool like Lovable or whatever, it just doesn't seem worth it. The juice isn't worth the squeeze. I'd rather use what's already publicly available and stitch it together.
yeah,
Yeah.
the best way I heard it framed actually, Sean, is what AI is really good at right now is building a wall. But if you ask it to build a building, it's not going to do that. Like you can say, put a wall here, it's going to be the sturdiest, best damn wall ever. But if you ask it, build me a 2-story duplex with 3 bathrooms and a bedroom and a kitchen looks like this, it's going to go and it's going to try, but it's not
Mhm,
it's not going to work. But if you can figure out how to put those walls together in the right way, you can get those
mhm,
walls up way faster than you could before. And the other thing I think that sets me a little bit at ease, because the idea of building software always scared the crap out of me, to be honest,
mm,
is that we're not going to have to make like a public facing web interface on like beta launch. We don't have to sign up 300 new customers and do tech support and have a
mhm,
dev that's asleep when I'm awake or whatever. And then like there's a server issue. It's all internal. We're slow rolling it, although it is in active daily use right now. So some of that fear is kind
mhm.
of dissipated by that. And yeah, I mean, the only thing I guess can go wrong is AWS will go down, but that would never happen, right? So
No, that's never happened. Never once.
that didn't happen
Yeah.
for 3 days. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I still can't change my website because of that.
that's amazing. I
Stones,
had issues in DSP this
stoneskiss.com? Yeah.
morning. Still couldn't log into some DSP assets this morning. Yeah.
No, really?
Yeah. Days
Even
later.
Amazon hasn't been able to? Wow.
Yeah. Still some
Yeah,
problems.
that is really, that's crazy. Okay. So I really must commend you. Like, this is such a well thought out approach because I, or commend your team members because I
Yeah.
really,
Give Nate and the team credit. I'm just the quality assurance and person that says, how are we actually going to use this for ads? Let me put it into use. Let me ask the team. Yeah, this is what I'm trying to move more and more into in the role. I'm not the one pulling the code strings for sure, but I kind of have that last mile perspective of I'm an account manager. I'm a client. What do I want to see? What do I care about? Is this surfacing something interesting for me that I can actually do something about with another tool? Because again, we're not making changes through the chat interface with Slack. This is our advisor right now so far.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, no, that's really cool. So something I would like, here are a couple of use cases that come to mind. And again,
Mhm.
maybe they're things that you guys are already doing, but I'm just wondering if, and I'm thinking about this from an ads perspective, because most people who pay attention to this are ad managers or people who are like, you know, deep in the ads game.
Yeah.
One thing I was thinking about is I'm about to go out of stock and I am not getting any alerts from any other system like, hey, you're about to go out of stock. Maybe you should pause your ads. Like I had two clients go out of stock yesterday, or not go out of stock, but two clients who are really low on stock because they're
Critical
working with
levels.
suppliers who, yeah, with suppliers who are just um, dishonest. So um, yeah, one of those types of early warning signals would have been really handy for me.
Hmm.
And we have a SOP set up for that. But what we don't have is someone checking it every single day. Because we did email them and be like, hey, or send them Slack messages like, hey, is this stock coming? And they said yes. And we just forgot about it. They said yes. Why would we fact check them beyond that?
Right, right, right.
So that's an example of something that really, to me at least, is a good opportunity. Another one is like
So wait, let me
the
push you on
find
that a bit
negative
more though,
phrases.
Sean. What would you
Yeah.
like to then see? Would you like the direct message in Slack that says red alert, stock levels potentially critical, please consider pausing XYZ? Like that sounds pretty useful to me, but maybe you like it some other way.
Yeah. No, I would say low stock alert. We would be out of stock on day X.
Mm.
And I would want different messages for if there is or is not inventory inbound.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Because for anyone listening, like the inbound category, there's like inbound, reserved, checked in, and then available, right? I think those are the categories. I might have
The
muted one up
four
there.
the four horsemen of Amazon inventory.
Yeah, right. Like, but yeah, it's like, hold on, I'm going to check now. It's available, inbound, unfulfillable, and reserved. Okay, so there's really only three, and so I
Right.
would want to know. Like, I would want a different message based on if we are running low on stock and we have very little available inventory, but we have a lot of inbound. And I'd want a different one if we are still not, like, we have nothing inbound.
Yeah, and
And then
correct me
I'd
if I'm
want to,
wrong, but when you see the listing itself, you arrive on there and it says like ships soon or like stock is inbound or available. I think I used to see a message like that.
yeah.
I don't usually encounter this as much anymore. I mean, I don't manage as much sponsored ads as I used to for sure, but seeing that message sometimes was like a, gut wrenching moment where you're like, oh boy, I know that
Yeah.
our conversions are going to suffer. Like we're going to see that in the data like 2 weeks later for sure. So even
Hmm.
that status change could be something. And there's been a lot of talk recently. I don't know if you've seen this, Sean, about like Helium 10 doesn't do review scraping anymore. I'm not sure if that's fake news or not, but it's been taken out of some of the Chrome extensions or something. But in some of the communities I move in, I've seen people rebuild that functionality with AI and
Hmm.
agent tools in like 2 hours basically, and just
Yeah.
say like, yeah, and we could totally do that too. We could tie that in and pull in
Mm.
reviews and auto suggest. Like I like the idea of pulling in fresh reviews and auto suggesting it for copy for creative. Like, how about that? That's pretty cool. So something fun like that as I'm increasingly focused on creative on Amazon and on DSP. That's a cool idea. But
Yeah.
yeah, we got a bit off track. So yeah, the inventory question.
Okay. What about and again, this is me being a skeptic, but it's
Hmm.
actually just not understanding. How would you use an agent to improve or to understand profitability? Like, I would think that it would be better to look at it in a spreadsheet view or a software view because you want to see
Hmm.
the
Hmm.
numbers as a matrix instead of as a conversation. But am I missing something or
But I don't think so. I mean, I don't think we have any intention to like replace Seller Board, which is, I
yeah?
believe, what we advise most clients use and we have access to as well on the supply chain, logistics, financial side, which is something we never did at Pathfinder really. But now I'm more deep into this with Sellerplex because they have such expertise in it.
Mm,
I think what we'll probably do is pull that information from Seller Board or just like, I know we do have an ability to load in cogs like with a spreadsheet. You can say like, here, ingest this data. There's a
mhm.
couple different data streams that it will ingest via. One of them is API, one of them is other databases, and one of them is in Slack. You can tell it things and it'll take things in. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
But I don't think that, yeah, to your point, like I'm not sure. I mean, I'm sure it could export a spreadsheet for you, but I'm not sure that's the best
yeah,
way to look at it. Like overall, do we want, if the client is willing to give it to us, in most cases they are, do we want like true COGS data as part of the whole advisory process that Optimo is giving us? Yeah, I think we do. I would rather it have it.
well, and that's one of the things. Like we use Seller Board, but one of the things that we have been it's like a probably January project is
Hmm.
we do have API connections through a no code tool, and we kind of want to just rebuild a version of Seller Board for every one of our clients. in our own database so we can query
Hmm.
it the way we want.
Yeah.
One of the things that drives me insane about Sellerboard is not being able to query their database any way we want to, or like compare different periods any way we want to. So like if you do the comparison if you do the comparison feature in Sellerboard, notice that it doesn't show you previous versus more recent ad spend and like what's the percentage ad spend change. And that is like such a useful piece of information when you're
Oh,
looking at
interesting.
like two different time frames. It's like, oh, you mean the most useful thing we could have? Yeah, we're just going to leave that out. It's like, why would
Obviously,
you
you
do
use it
that?
more than I do, but yeah, there should always be a custom date range comparison feature. And yeah, I
Yeah,
know it builds in a lot of ad data now too, but like building in a delay for attribution might also be another thing. I don't know if they handle that or think about
yeah.
that too much.
For me, I don't care so much about the attribution delay. I'd rather
Hmm.
just say, look, first 48 hours are almost always wrong. Just expect that. And then,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
yeah, like
But at
that's
the
the way
same
that I
time,
think about it.
I will say, like, using AMC more and more these days,
Hmm.
looking at the time to purchase for ads, it's amazing
Hmm.
how large of a percentage of even across like more expensive products and like wider AOV ranges and brands that
Hmm.
the window for purchase is really the first 48 hours. Like in most accounts, it's like 86 to 90% of purchases is really like that first 48 hours. Cause, people at the sponsored products, they really are like bottom of funnel. They really are looking to buy. There's always that
Hmm.
longer tail. Hey, one day, I think the range is like 2+ days, 3+ days. And then you do have the 7+ day category,
Hmm. Yeah.
which, yeah, I'm sure I've fallen into that a couple times. Although I'm probably like you when I shop on Amazon, I never click on ads, um,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
which is really funny because that's a behavior I think all of us ad managers have. But anyway, off the point, the point being, a lot of those sales are taking place then, and so hopefully they're being attributed quickly inside Amazon's last click attribution system, and then that's catching up. But yeah, another thing for us to tackle technically.
Yeah. I guess that's another thing that, and I don't know how easy or difficult that would be, but being able to connect to somebody's AMC instance and then talk to it,
Yeah.
that that would be a really interesting use case for an agent, because one of the things that's really challenging for me with AMC is I only know a certain number of questions to ask it, but I would
Hmm.
love to have an agent that maybe kind of prompts me and says like, "Hey, maybe we should think about this," or "Hey, maybe we should think about that." Like, looks like our path to purchase is 3 times longer than most paths to purchase. Maybe we should
That would
run
be an
more. Yeah.
incredible feat and a level of sophistication. Yeah, I think all we have right now with AMC is querying separately and
Hmm.
then loading it in manually. Basically saying, hey, we can pull this particular date range in this thing and give it to it. I think the next
Yeah.
step, I mean, like from a technical perspective, I can't even really dare to imagine how that would happen because AMC already is such a complex beast. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's where I start to the trail goes cold for me there, man. I got I got nothing
Yeah. Okay.
from my generally like decent understanding of AMC and use of it on a routine basis, but how to actually take
Hmm.
that and connect it with that. Maybe we will have an
Yeah.
AMC dedicated bot, or maybe we will be able to, for the purposes of advertising, of course. I think this is not so helpful for the supply chain.
Yeah.
Is create AMC connection and integrate it in Optimo as part of that instead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I
And you
feel
brought up
like
another
you.
thing I want to highlight too is like
Oh
you're
yeah. Go ahead.
saying, well, what you want is like a proactive bot. You don't want the buddy that knows
Hmm.
everything that you have to ask them the right question. You want the buddy that is proffering ideas to you proactively and saying like, "Hey, what if we tried this? What if we tried that?" We're not at that level
Mm,
yet. It's a lot of questions, a lot of back and forth. It does suggest questions, but I'm not sure if it's coming
mm.
to us as proactively. I do love the idea, and I do love the idea of alerts too. It reminds me of that old software everyone used to use. Actually, I know the founder of this company. It's a friend of mine, Century Kit. Do you remember Century Kit?
Yeah. CenturyKit was
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, the founder of that company is a Hungarian guy. He's a friend of mine. We still talk time to time. But that
Brilliant.
software was like really good, like cutting edge for its day. And that is so beyond what was available then. But now the way I think about these agents is like, damn, somebody could build that now. Maybe it wouldn't be that hard. Maybe it wouldn't be that hard. But back in like 2016, 17, whenever he started that, like, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that was insane back then.
Yeah. Shout out
I
Century Kit.
remember, yeah, CenturyKit. One of
Yeah.
the software tools that I used for it, I mean, are they still around?
They were purchased, and I don't know really what happened after that. But shout out Aaron, by the way, he's the founder.
Nice. Well, look, I mean, Brent, I think you have brought up a lot of good points. This has been very, very interesting. I feel like a new world of possibilities has opened up in my mind since we
Cool.
started this conversation. So,
Wow. Okay, that's high praise.
yeah, no, thank you for coming and bringing your A game. This is super, like, I've got lots to think about. And now I feel even more behind than I did before this call started.
Well, if it
So
makes you feel
awesome.
any better, as soon as I started digging more into the AI stuff with Leo on our team here, who's the lead for this, and learning from him, and he's someone that has I would say, a brilliant engineering architectural mind, like from an actual building sense, but also from a software sense. I just think, damn, it's like I feel behind too, but at least I'm on a team that's trying this stuff, and I can help in some of the more like let's call it soft ways. Okay, where does the rubber meet the road on this? Not the technical side, but like if I am the account
Mm,
manager in the trenches, I'm here 8, 9, 10 hours a day looking at accounts, staring at numbers. What is this going to do for me?
yeah,
That's the stuff where I'm trying to make it sing.
yeah. No, I like that a lot. And I think that's a really, really well thought out way to approach it. So, look, as we wrap up here, Brent, where can people find you? Where are you hanging out on the internet if people want to learn more about what you guys do?
Yeah, sure. I'm at Brent.bike. So .bike is a .com. You can put Brent.bike in. That'll take you to all the websites I'm found at, social media, whatever. But if you want to learn more about us and Optimo, Sellerplex, whatever, just put sellerplex.com into the browser. We actually have a landing page just for the agents. I can send you it. I don't know it off the top of my head. It's brand new.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
If
mean,
people want to
that's
just get
really awesome.
alpha access one day and like take a look at what they are. We don't have them available yet for people to use, but like our dream is definitely to have them in the hands of our accounts for our clients using them, and then eventually start to roll them out to other people that are like individual like sellers that want to use it. Think about how the
Mm,
price to performance or price to value could be incredible there. And also like maybe agencies, like which obviously is going to have to be a different scale.
yeah. Well, look, man, that's really cool. Everyone go to Brent.bike and
Yes.
check out everything Brent has to say.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
all
So
there.
Brent, thanks so much. And everyone else, until next time.